The farmer who picked up a stick and knocked out a warrior. The sun was rising over the green hills of planet Navorus 7. Birds chirped softly. The wind was calm. It was supposed to be a normal morning. Joren, a human farmer, stepped out of his small wooden house holding a mug of hot tea. He looked around at his quiet land. Rows of crops swayed gently in the breeze. His animals were still asleep. Everything was peaceful. But that peace was about to break. In the distance, something crashed, loud and heavy. The ground shook. Joren dropped his mug. He grabbed his old boots and ran toward the field. He followed the smoke. In the middle of his wheat field, something had slammed into the earth. The crops were crushed in a wide circle. Steam hissed from twisted metal. It looked like a ship, small, fast, military style. Joren stepped closer. The cockpit burst open, and then she appeared. Tall alien woman armored in black and red plates climbed out. Her silver hair flowed behind her helmet. Her green eyes glowed with fury. She was bleeding from her forehead. Joren froze. The woman looked at him and growled. "You!" she shouted. "Where am I?" He raised his hands. "You're on my farm." "You're—" "What?" "My land," he said. "You crashed in my wheat." She stepped down from the wreck, limping slightly. Her armor sparked. "Are you human?" she asked sharply. "Yes." "You're alone?" Joren nodded. She looked him up and down. "You're no soldier." "I'm just a farmer," he said. "I grow vegetables, sell milk, that's all." But she didn't believe him. Without warning, she rushed at him. Her movements were fast like lightning. Joren panicked. His hands grabbed the closest thing near his foot, a thick wooden stick from an old fence. As she leaped toward him, sword raised, Joren swung the stick wildly. Crack. The stick hit the side of her helmet with a loud snap. She dropped instantly, flat on the ground, not dead, but unconscious. Joren stood over her, shaking. "What just happened?" He dropped the stick. His hands trembled. Did he just knock out an alien warrior? He looked at her. She was breathing. Her armor was tough. Her body was strong. But she wasn't moving. He dragged her out of the wheat and laid her gently on the grass near the barn. He removed her helmet. Her face was sharp and beautiful but covered in bruises. She looked like she had seen many battles. Joren sighed. "I hope you don't wake up angry," he muttered. Hours passed. When she finally woke, it was night. She was inside Joren's barn, lying on a soft hay bed. Her wounds were bandaged. Her armor was beside her. She sat up fast, confused. Joren, sitting nearby, raised his hands. "Easy. You hit your head." She looked around. "You didn't kill me?" "No," he said. "I gave you soup." She blinked. "You're a strange warrior." "I'm not a warrior," he said. "I'm a farmer." She stared at him in silence. Then she whispered, "I am Vetra, first blade of the Zari Dominion. I have fought in 17 battles. No one has ever knocked me out before." Joren scratched his head. "Well, maybe you slipped." "No," she said slowly. "You struck me. With a stick." Joren shrugged. "It was lucky." She narrowed her eyes. "Or you are hiding something." "I'm really not." Vetra stood up, wobbling slightly. "You feed your animals, you grow your food, and you heal your enemy." "I don't like war," he said. "I like quiet." She stared at him again. No weapons, no army, no fear, just strength. That night, Vetra sat outside the barn, watching the stars. Joren brought her a warm blanket and sat beside her. She didn't thank him, but she also didn't attack him again. As she stared at the moonlight, one question repeated in her mind. How did a simple farmer defeat me? She decided to stay a little longer. She needed to understand this human, and maybe fight him again. She tracked his movements, but found no weapon, no armor, just strength. Vetra was a warrior. She had trained since she was 6. Learned to fight, with blades, with guns, with bare hands. She had fought monsters on ice planets and soldiers on burning ones. She had faced death more than once, but nothing confused her more than this man, Joran, the farmer. He had no weapons, no armor, no training, and yet he had beaten her with a stick. Now she was following him, quietly, from a distance, hiding behind trees, watching from the shadows. She had to know. What was he hiding? Joran didn't act like a soldier. He didn't scan the land for threats. He didn't sharpen weapons. He didn't even lock his doors at night. Instead, he woke up before sunrise, fed chickens, collected eggs, cleaned a barn. He hummed softly while planting rows of vegetables. His muscles moved with simple power, not fast, not fancy, but strong. Vetra watched as he lifted a full water barrel like it weighed nothing. No machines, no exosuit, just hands, just effort. It made her jaw clench. How? The next morning, Joran spotted her. He didn't panic, he simply waved. "Morning, Vetra." She stepped out from behind the tree. "You saw me?" "Since yesterday," he said with a grin. "Why didn't you say anything?" "I figured you were watching for a reason." She crossed her arms. "I'm trying to understand how a man like you could beat me." Joran laughed. "I got lucky." "No," she said. "There's something about you." He wiped sweat from his forehead. "Just hard work, Vetra. You'd be surprised what farming does to a body." She looked at the field again. "You do all this alone?" He nodded. "Had a brother once. He didn't come back from the war." Something shifted in her chest. She didn't speak for a moment. Later that day, she followed him into the forest. A tree had fallen across a narrow path. Huge. Heavy. Joran stood, hands on hips, thinking. Vetra waited. Would he call for help? Use tech? No. He placed both hands on the trunk and slowly lifted it. With grunts and effort, he rolled the giant tree to the side. It took 10 minutes. No powers, just stubbornness. Vetra's eyes widened. That was strength. Not fast, not loud, but real. That night, Joran offered her food again. Vetra sat across from him, arms still crossed. She stared at the bowl. "What is this?" "Root stew," he said. "Not warrior food, but it'll keep you strong." She tasted it. It was simple. Warm. Good. She didn't thank him, but she ate every bite. After dinner, she spoke. "On my world, males do not fight. They are weak, quiet. You are not like them." "I'm not trying to be," Joran said. "You are strong. Only when I need to be." Vetra stared at the firelight. "You confuse me, human." He smiled. "I get that a lot." She stood to leave but paused at the door. "Tomorrow," she said. "Show me how you work your land." "Sure," he replied, "but be ready to sweat." She raised an eyebrow. "I do not sweat." "We'll see," he said with a wink. That night, as she sat alone under the stars, Vetra felt something new. Not fear, not anger, not pride, but curiosity. This man who lived among dirt and animals had somehow broken through her armor, and she didn't know why. Her squad arrived to capture him, but she stepped between them. The sky above Joran's farm turned dark, not from clouds, but from a ship. It was black, large, and shaped like a spear. It moved silently at first, then broke the quiet with a loud, deep hum. Dust blew across the field. Animals scattered. Even the crops shook. Joran dropped his tools and looked up. "Not another storm," he muttered. But it wasn't a storm. It was a warship. Vetra stood beside him, her eyes wide. "No, it's my unit," she said quietly. "They found me." The ship landed hard on the ground. The earth cracked beneath it. A ramp opened. 3 armored warriors stepped out. All Zari like Vetra, tall, sharp, and deadly. At their front was Commander Rax, the one who trained her. "Vetra," he shouted, "you have not reported in 6 days." "I was injured," she replied. He pointed at Joran. Is this the one who defeated you? Vetra didn't answer. Rax walked closer. He must be taken. The council believes he's a hidden earth weapon. No human could defeat one of us. Joran stepped back. Vetra stepped forward. No, she said clearly. You will not touch him. Rax narrowed his eyes. You defend him? Yes. You betray your mission. I follow my honor, Vetra said. This human is not a threat. He took you down. He surprised me. He humiliated our name. He protected me after. He could have killed me. He fed me. He healed me. Rax's voice grew louder. He is an enemy. No, Vetra said. He is something greater than that. He is different. One of the other soldiers raised a weapon. Move, Vetra, or we fire. She didn't move. Joran grabbed a nearby pitchfork standing beside her. I really don't like guns pointed at me, he said calmly. Vetra smirked. Still not a warrior? Still a farmer, he replied. But I defend my home. The soldier stepped forward. Vetra moved first, fast like a flash. She grabbed the weapon, twisted it, and flipped the soldier onto the ground. Rax drew his sword. You dare fight your own squad? She is not your soldier now, Joran said. She stood between them. I dare protect someone who gave me back my name, Rax growled. You've fallen. No, Vetra said. I've risen. The standoff held for long seconds. Then, Rax lowered his sword. We will report this, he said coldly. You are no longer Zari. You are exiled. I accept that, Vetra replied. The warriors turned and returned to their ship. It rose into the sky and vanished in silence. After the dust settled, Joran sat on the ground out of breath. You okay? He asked. I just gave up everything I knew, she said. Why? She looked at him. Because no war, no title, no glory is worth more than knowing someone sees your worth. Joran stared at her, then he said, I think you just made me blush. Vetra chuckled. I didn't think humans could still surprise me, she said. And I didn't think I'd need protection from a space warrior, he replied. They sat side by side in the dirt. Not enemies, not strangers, but something new. That night, Vetra cleaned her armor and placed it in the barn, not to wear but to store. She was no longer a soldier. She was something else now, something even stronger. She challenged him to a rematch, and he taught her something else. The morning. Sun rose slowly over the hills. Dew clung to the crops. Birds sang in the trees. But Vetra was not enjoying the peace. She was pacing, back and forth, like a predator waiting to strike. Joran, still half asleep, stepped outside with a cup of tea in his hand. You're going to wear a hole in the ground, he said, yawning. Vetra turned quickly. I want a rematch. Joran blinked. Excuse me? You defeated me once by accident. I need to know if it was real. He sipped his tea. Vetra, I told you, I was lucky. Then prove it, she said. One test, one challenge, no weapons. He tilted his head. What kind of challenge? She smiled. A strength contest. He grinned back. Fine, but my way. 10 minutes later, Vetra stood in the middle of the field, confused. This is your challenge? Yep, Joran said, tossing her a pair of gloves. We're harvesting potatoes. Vetra raised an eyebrow. That is not a battle. It's harder than you think, he said. Whoever collects more in 1 hour wins. She narrowed her eyes. You're on. The contest began. At first, Vetra moved fast, ripping plants from the earth, throwing roots into a sack. She was a warrior. Her arms were powerful, her speed unmatched. Joran moved slower, careful, calm. He used a small tool to loosen the dirt, brushed soil off the roots, and placed them gently in baskets. 30 minutes passed. Vetra looked at her sack. Full. But many potatoes were broken or missed. Joran's baskets were neat, clean, and heavy. At the 1 hour mark, he rang an old bell. Vetra stood, sweating. She looked at her hands, dirty and bruised. She looked at Joran, tired, but smiling. He counted both harvests. "You got speed," he said. "But not technique. I lost," she muttered. He handed her a cloth. "But you learned." Vetra sat down in the grass. "I thought strength was power, force, muscle." Joran sat beside her. "Sometimes it is, but real strength is about patience." They sat quietly, looking at the sunset. Vetra finally spoke again. "I trained for war my whole life, but now I wonder, what else is out there for me?" He didn't say anything for a moment. Then he pointed to the barn. "You could help fix that roof. Rain's coming." She looked at him surprised. "Just like that? No more tests?" "You already passed the one that matters," he said. She frowned. "What test?" He smiled. "You stopped seeing me as an enemy." That night, Vetra cooked for the first time in her life. The food was too salty, but Joran smiled anyway. He said, "You'll get it next time." And she believed him, not just about cooking, but about everything. For the first time in her life, she didn't want to leave, not for war, not for duty. She wanted to stay and grow something new. She asked if he had a mate and hated her own reaction to his answer. The fire crackled softly. It was a quiet night. Joran sat on a wooden bench outside the barn, polishing a tool. Vetra sat beside him, arms resting on her knees, staring at the stars. They didn't talk much that evening, not because they were angry, but because something between them had changed, and neither of them knew what to do with it. Vetra finally broke the silence. "Joran? Do humans take mates?" He looked at her surprised. "Yeah, we do. When we find someone we care about." She nodded slowly. "Do you have one?" The question came out sharper than she expected. Joran set down the tool. "No, not anymore." Vetra's heart jumped, though she didn't understand why. "What happened?" she asked. He looked up at the sky for a long moment. "She left. Years ago. After the war. Said I was too quiet. Too simple." Vetra's fists tightened. "Too simple?" Joran gave a small, sad smile. "Some people think peace is boring. I just wanted to grow food and live easy." She wanted more. Vetra didn't speak. Something heavy was in her chest. She didn't like the feeling. Later that night, Joran went inside to rest. But Vetra stayed out, walking alone under the moonlight. Her thoughts were loud. Why had she asked about mates? Why did it bother her that he once had one? Why did she feel relieved when he said she was gone? These emotions were not part of her warrior training. She was Jari. She was supposed to feel power, not jealousy. She stared at the stars and whispered, "What is wrong with me?" The next day she was quieter. She didn't follow him around like before. She worked in the field alone. Joran noticed. "You okay?" he asked. "Yes," she lied. "You sure?" "Yes." But her eyes said something else. That evening they sat by the fire again. Joran passed her a bowl of stew. She didn't touch it. "You're thinking too much," he said softly. She looked at him. "I don't understand these feelings." He tilted his head. "You've never liked someone before? Not like this? What does it feel like?" She closed her eyes. "It's like, I want to protect you, stand by you, but also smash anyone who looks at you." Joran laughed. She frowned. "It's not funny." No, it's just, I never thought I'd hear a warrior describe love that way." Her eyes widened. "Is that what this is?" He nodded. "Sounds like it to me." She looked down at the fire, then said quietly, "What if I'm not good at it?" "You don't have to be perfect," he replied. "You just have to be honest." Vetra looked at him for a long time, then said, "If you ever take another mate, I want it to be me." Joran blinked, surprised, then smiled. "You're already halfway there." She blushed. an odd, glowing shimmer across her cheeks. "I don't blush," she grumbled. "Sure you don't," he said with a wink. That night, Vetra didn't sleep alone. She stayed near him, not touching, not holding, just close and safe. And for the first time in her life, she wasn't dreaming of battle. She was dreaming of home. Her commander ordered his death, but she rebelled. The message came in the middle of the night. A small black device hidden in Vetra's armor blinked red. She found it buried beneath a pile of tools in the barn, where she had left her gear to gather dust. It was a private signal, high priority, from Commander Rax. She tapped it. The message played as a sharp whisper in her ear. "Vetra, we know you. Disobeyed orders, you've been tracked. The human is to be eliminated immediately. If you do not follow this command, you will be marked a traitor." The message ended. Vetra stared at the dark barn walls, her breathing heavy. They wanted him dead. Joren, the man who fed her, trusted her, healed her, the man who looked at her like she was more than a warrior. She closed her eyes. Her fists trembled. She had once followed every order without question, but not anymore. The next morning, she didn't tell Joren about the message. He was in the field again, humming softly as he watered the plants. Peaceful, unaware. She couldn't look him in the eye. At noon, she spotted it, a small silver drone hovering above the trees. It was watching them, marking the kill. The air changed. She felt it. Danger was close. She ran to the field. "Joren!" "Inside. Now!" He looked up, confused. "What?" "No time. Move!" Suddenly, a blaster shot hit the dirt near his feet. Joren dropped the bucket and ran. Two Zari assassins dropped from the trees, wearing black stealth suits, their eyes locked on him. Vetra stepped in their path like a storm. They recognized her instantly. "Vetra, you've gone soft." She raised her blade. "You're not touching him. You would protect a farmer?" One laughed. "He's nothing. He's everything you're not," she growled. They attacked. The fight was brutal. Fast, sharp, deadly. One assassin tried to flank her. She smashed him into a tree. The other aimed for Joren, but she threw her dagger and struck his hand. Joren ducked, grabbed a shovel and used it to knock the attacker down. Not perfect, but enough. Together they stood over the fallen Zari, breathing hard, alive. Joren turned to her. "You knew they were coming." She nodded, ashamed. "I got the message last night. Why didn't you tell me? I was afraid you'd hate me." He looked at her, dirty, bruised, beautiful in her own way. "I don't hate you," he said. "I trust you." Those words hit her harder than any sword ever had. They burned the drone, buried the weapons, and left the bodies in the forest for the crows. That night, Vetra packed her things. Joren watched from the door. "You leaving?" he asked. She looked at him, then shook her head. "No," she said. "I'm done running." She sent one final message to her commander. "Come for me if you wish, but know this. I don't follow you anymore. I follow my heart, and my place is here." She turned off the communicator, smashed it under her boot, and walked back to Joren. "I choose this life now," she said. "Even if it means war with your people?" he asked. She smiled. "For you? Yes." She left her world behind and chose to grow with him. The seasons changed. The winds on Navorus 7 grew warmer. The crops stood taller. Birds returned to the trees, and Vetra stayed. Not as a soldier, not as a guest, but as something more. She was no longer first blade of the Zari Dominion. She was the woman who chose a quiet life beside a human farmer. Each morning she woke before the sun, not to train with weapons, but to walk beside Joren in the fields. She had learned to water plants, gently, not stomp them. She could lift 2 sacks of grain at once now, but place them down with care. Vetra had once torn through planets. Now she was learning how to plant them. One evening after dinner, they sat by the fire again. The sky was deep purple. The stars above glowed like silver sparks. Joran looked at her, calm and thoughtful. You ever miss it? He asked. Miss what? The old life. The glory. The fight. Vetra stared at the stars for a moment, then said, No. That life was loud, but hollow. I was a name on a list. Feared, not known. Now, I matter. Here. Joran smiled. You always mattered. She looked at him and softly asked, Do I matter to you? He reached across the fire and took her hand. You matter more than anyone ever has. The next day they worked together to fix the old roof of the barn. At one point Vetra lost her balance and slipped, but Joran caught her with one arm. She laughed, heart racing. Still not a warrior, huh? Still just a farmer, he said, grinning. That night she kissed him just once. It was enough. In time, stories spread, rumors among the stars, that a deadly Zari warrior had disappeared, not in battle, but in love. That she had found a human man who defeated her not with weapons, but with kindness, strength, and peace. And that together, they built something stronger than any empire, a home, a future, a legend. Far from war, far from orders, and far from fear. Vetra grew her first flower, and it bloomed in the soil of love.